Hi, this is the History of Israel podcast, an Each My Own Beat podcast. Over the coming weeks, months, and years, we'll be discussing the history of Israel. This is not a podcast to say which side is right, which side is wrong. It's not a podcast to talk about the war which is happening in Palestine. It's just simply the history of Israel.
Welcome back to episode 29 of the History of Israel podcast, Religion in the Late Antiquity. One of the most important transformations in the Late Antiquity was the formation and evolution of the Abrahamic religion, Christianity, Rabbinic Judaism, and eventually Islam. A milestone in the spread of Christianity was the conversion of Emperor Constantine in 312, as claimed by the Christian panegyrist Eusebius of Caesarea. Although the sincerity of his conversions is debated, Constantine confirmed the legalization of the religion through the so-called Edict of Milan in 313, jointly issued with the rival in the east, Licinius. By the late 4th century, Emperor Theodosius the Great had made Christianity the state religion, thereby transferring the classical Roman world, which Peter Brown characterized as the wrestling within the presence of the many divine spirits. Constantine I was a key figure in the many important events in Christian history, as convened and attended by the First Ecumenical Council of the Bishops in Nicaea in 325, subsidizing the building of the churches and the sanctuaries, such as the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem, and involved himself in questioning such as the timing of the Christ's resurrection and the relation to the Passover. Birth of the Christian monotheism in the 3rd century was a major step in development of the Christian spirituality, which initially operated outside the episcopal authority of the Church. It became hugely successful, and by the 8th century, it became one of the key Christian practices. Monasticism was not only the new Christian movement to appear in the late antiquity, although it had perhaps the greatest influence and achieved unprecedented geographical spread. It influenced many aspects of the Christian religious life and led to the proliferation of various ascetic and semi-ascetic practices. Holy fools and stylites counted among the more extreme forms, but through such personalities like John Chrysostom, Jerome, Augustine, and Gregory the Great, monastic attitudes penetrated other areas of Christian life. Late antiquity marks the decline of the Roman state religion, circumscribed in degrees by edicts, likely inspired by Christian advisors such as Eusebius to the 4th century emperors, and the period of dynamic and religious experimentation and spirituality with many syncretic sects. Some formed centuries earlier, such as Gnosticism and Neoplatonism, and the Chaldean oracles. Some novel, such as Hermeticism, culminating in the reforms advocated by Apollonius of Tyana, being adopted by Aurelian and formulated by Flavius Claudius Julianus to create an organized but short-lived pagan state religion that ensured its underground survival into the Byzantine age and beyond. Mahayana Buddhism developed in India along the Silk Road of Central Asia, while Manichaeism of dual faith arose in the Mesopotamia and spread both east and west, for time contending with Christianity in the Roman Empire. Many of the new religions relied on the emergence of parchment codex and papyrus, the former allowing the quicker access to key materials, easier profitability than the fragile scroll, thus fueling the rise of syncotic exegesis, papyrology, notable in the regard and the topic of 50 Bibles of Constantine.
This has been the History of Israel podcast. Check back every Wednesday for new episodes. We're available on Apple, iTunes, Google Podcasts, as well as Spotify. We also have each episode streaming on YouTube. Like, subscribe, comment, and share. We're available on eattomyownbeat.com as well as the History of Israel podcast on Facebook.